Hello everyone and welcome to another real life video, and this time you join me at Silverstone for the last ever race I competed in the Formula Ford 1600 Championship about 5 years ago. And don't worry, this one's not getting taken down. So when I say last race, it wasn't one of many races. I only did 4 races in total in Formula Ford, and this was the 4th one. You obviously saw my first one a couple of weeks back. You can see I've got a new lid for this one, so that's going to make a huge difference obviously. And you'll see there's a bit of improvement in the driving. Silverstone National Circuit is a lot easier to get your head round compared to Donington Park. Less corners, flatter. It's probably what I should have started on, but anyway, let's skip to the start. Right then, you can see it's dry and we get a much better launch this time. I had a few practice starts before this and we get the right revs, we drop the clutch pretty quickly. Not as good as some of the others, but I mean, you compare it to the first race, miles better, and we're still in the hunt. So I did have my teammate to the right side of me. We both qualified 12th and 13th I think, and I ended up getting the jump on him. And that's just the top 10 ahead of us, so it's a decent position to be starting. And compare that with our first race, again we were at the back and you know we had a lot of work to do, whereas here we're in the hunt. I knew my pace wasn't as good as the very front runners, whether that's all car, all driver or a bit of both, I don't know, to be honest, but with the slipstream you can do some decent things. So I'm going down this the Wellington straight, and everyone watches on the BRDC stand, so my parents were down, a couple of my mates were down as well, so I had to try and impress obviously. And you can see there going into Luffield, it's very congested. Formula 4 racing at the best of times is, well, it's a good thing, it's so tight. I mean, there's not a lot of differences between the cars and usually the drivers, so the slipstream can do a massive thing in keeping the field nice and close together, lots of overtaking, and because they've got no aero as well, that also helps that particular issue. Maybe Formula 1 should take a leaf out of their book in some way or another. But yeah, going into turn 1, I mean, before this race I was still very, very nervous. I mean, compared to how I get nervous now, I was a lot more nervous back then. Although it's not my first race, I still was very nervous. You know, there are a lot of money on the line, could be my last race, etc, etc. So you'll see a bit of sensitivity in my driving, if that's a word. I'm not fully committed everywhere, but I'm a lot more committed compared to that Donington race you saw. And so on the exit of Luffield, you can see on the left hand side there's a really slow car, so obviously they've got an issue. I think it was engine related. I think actually before the race someone told me that car's going to break down, so obviously they had some ongoing issues that weekend. Going into turn 1, we're very close to the 2 cars in front. At this point the tyres of the Formula Ford, they're already hot. I mean, to be honest, it takes 1 lap and the tyres are almost optimum temperature, because they're not really a race tyre. It doesn't take very long for them to get hot. They're not soft, they don't provide a lot of grip, so in that sense it's very easy to get them warm. On the exit of turn 2 I get a really good run actually, and the car just in front of this car ahead of us, there's no slipstream, so you get like almost a double toe effect, and we're closing up on the guy in front. We do dive bomb him, but I think this was probably my best overtake I did in a Formula Ford. And it was in front of the grandstand as well, so you know the crowd was cheering as I went sailing up the inside, and we got a position there going into Luffield, so or through Brooklyn, sorry. So I think at this point we were 9th, which, you know, again, very good position to be in. If we stay in the slipstream of this white car in front, and if he tows us along, there's who knows what could happen. Okay, so a little bit later on in the race, that white car has kind of checked out a little bit, a couple of seconds, but we can still see the front guys, so it's not the end of the world. We've got a car in our mirrors, as you can see there. And going into Brooklyn, you can see that red car spun up front, and he almost collided with me. I can't explain how close he got. I mean, this camera angle is the worst camera angle really you can show for that, but my God was it close. And it rattled me a little bit for a few corners. It's like, oh my God. But yeah, after that I kind of collected myself together, carried on going. And he was a front runner, so naturally he was going to pass me, catch me back up, pass me, and catch those front guys again. He was rapid. So on lap, well, I don't actually know what lap it is, but on the exit of turn 1, you can see in the mirrors the red car that spun earlier is right on us. And I mean, what is the point of fighting him? You know how quick he is. He was with the front guys. He spun. That's, you know, his fault, but he's still not slow because of it. He's still quick, so we let him go, and then we stay in the tow on the straight the whole way. I could go sailing at the inside, but there's literally no point because he's going to be past me whatever. I could try and use him to catch the front guys. Unfortunately, through the corners he just had a bit more commitment mid corner. Whether that's, yeah, it's probably experience, isn't it? But I mean, he just seemed to check out quite quickly. And I can't remember if he went on to get a podium or not, but yeah, he was really quick. So I tried staying with him, couldn't achieve that, but I mean, I may as well show you my fastest lap just to run you through the lap. So going into turn 1 in 4th gear, you back it off on the throttle and just feed the car in. A little bit of oversteer, but you keep enough revs to keep it in 4th, which is good. And then going into turn 2, you got to straight line the entry. Brake just when the curve starts on the left, straight line it, and then turn in later. I mean, I can see now, because I do genuinely believe Sim Racing's maybe a better driver. Here I'm looking at this, watching and thinking, I can do this better, I can do that better, and I'd easily go in there now and find 4 or 5 temps, and that's almost what I was off the leaders. So, but anyway, going into turn 3, you brake just before the cone, and then down to 3rd, then 2nd really quickly with a bit of heel and toe, then feed the car into the apex on the left, and then into Luffield, just throw it into the entry, let the car drift out wide a bit, and then just stay on throttle mid-corner, get on the throttle on the exit as early as possible, and then that is effectively the lap. Shift up, and I think you're up to 4th before the end of the kink. Yep, and then across the line, I think it was like a 103.6, which is pretty average, to be honest. The top guys would be doing 102s. The track's resurfaced now, so you can't really take this year's lap times as like a reference, but in this race, as you can see from the timing sheets, I'm about a second off the leaders, but you got to remember that was with no slipstream. The leaders would have been in the slipstream when they've done their fastest laps, so if you add the slipstream onto it, it's still probably going to be about 5 or 6 tenths off, but that's definitely in driving and maybe a bit in the car, who knows. But I'm looking at this thinking, you know, now I could definitely go a lot quicker. But then after all of our efforts, it doesn't matter anyway, because on the Wellington straight, I think a little bit before it as well, whether it made any difference to our performance in the race or not, I have no idea, but you can see the car on the left just sails past us on the straight, and what's happening is I'm losing a lot of power. I didn't know what was going wrong. I thought it was an engine issue, but what it turns out it was the battery went flat. So there's no alternator on these cars, so if the battery goes flat, it can't be recharged. You can see a car off on the left there in the gravel, but we come in the pits, obviously there's an immediate issue, you can't carry on. It could be something worse, like an oil pressure issue, which means there's no oil, or there's less oil circulating around the engine, so I didn't want to damage anything, so I came in immediately, and you can see when I pull into the pits, I say there's an engine issue, so, but yeah, battery issue, cost us the race. These things happen, it is racing, and you know, it happens in sim racing as well, PCs fail, and it's just part of it, so you got to take it with a pinch of salt and just get on with it, really. But yeah, that is the race. That was my final ever race in Formula Ford. And yeah, off the back of this, it led into a beautiful journey, which, you know, consists of sim racing and where I currently am now. So everything happens for a reason. And what a learning curve it was. Again, those 20 minutes would have been vital for my learning in terms of racing. I know it's a lot of money, a very expensive lesson, but yeah, and it gave you a lot of good content. So all in all, it was worth it really, wasn't it? But for another video, that is it. Another real life video. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to like it, comment, all the usual stuff. Sub to the channel if you already haven't. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Insta @VeloceJames. But until the next video, I'll see you soon.